Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so excited. All right, welcome everybody. Seattle Pacific Northwest, live terrestrial radio in your cars or in your kitchen. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk about overcoming some obstacles. As in healing the body, healing the mind, what that looks like. Quite honestly, it all boils down to love. And I've got an incredible guest here today, and I'm going to bring him on in just a minute. But I want to remind all of you, if you want to get a copy of the live show, please go to SueLundquist.com/newsletter, or just go to Sue Lundquist and follow the links. It'd be quite simple. You also know that after live radio here in the Pacific Northwest, and we're also live on YouTube. And if you are driving, please do not go looking for us on YouTube. If you hear it and want to transition to YouTube, all you have to do is type in 1150 AM and you'll see us goofing off on live radio here and also during the break as well on YouTube. And for the podcast world, thank you so much. Give us a 4, 5, 6-star rating because that's what we love. Share the love. All right, audience. So you know it's always about new perspective, new thoughts, new ideas. It's a new you. So you take what resonates with you and then you leave the rest. So today we have got Udo, and you're going to have to explain your last name or say it out for me because Benny and I have this conversation that I practice, and then right at the moment when I have to get on stage, I get nervous.
Oh, so it's Erasmus, and it's Greek for worthy of love.
What?
Seriously, you know Eros, the god of love?
Yes.
This is derived from that, and it means worthy of love. It's nice to be reminded.
Wow. How beautiful is that? Udo, I love it. All right. Well, you know what? I could read. Do you want me to read the bio? I would really like to just have the audience get to know you and feel your energy and who you are. So let's start with that.
Okay.
Welcome, Udo.
All right. Glad to be on.
Thank you. Tell us about your journey and your story. I mean, you've been doing this just a little while.
I've been doing a bunch of stuff for 79 years. So I was born in 1942 during the Second World War in Poland. My parents were German-Swedish. My mother's name was Lundberg, her maiden name. And they lived in Latvia and Estonia. And they left when Hitler and Stalin made their non-aggression pact. And Latvia went to Soviet Union and part of Poland went to Germany. But there was nobody from Latvia or Poland at the meeting. They just took it because they could. And then the Second World War happened. When I was 2.5, we were refugees fleeing from the communists down dirt roads on horse-drawn hay wagons, mostly mothers with young children. My mother had 6 children, 6 years and younger with her. And the communists were chasing us, and the Allies were using us for target practice. They were shooting at us from planes.
Oh, geez.
So we were caught in that. It was, I don't remember much other than fear, anxiety, confusion, no reliability. It was really chaotic. And I was very shy. It was like, I think I had PTSD until I was 60 and nobody ever called it anything.
Yeah.
And we never worked through it or anything, and I got into the world of books, and then we made it out to Germany. I got left behind. I was in an orphanage for a few weeks before my mother's sister went back and hauled us out. And I was very shy. When I was 6 years old, I listened to people arguing in Germany, adults arguing about things that I thought were really trivial as a 6-year-old. So they must have been pretty trivial. I don't remember what it was. But it occurred to me, man, there must be, it always made me uncomfortable when they argued. And I thought to myself, man, there must be a way that people can live in harmony. And then like a little cocky 6-year-old who doesn't know how complicated everything's, I'm going to find out how.
I love it.
That's been my driver all my life.
Living in harmony. All of us living in harmony.
Yeah. I mean, and the only reason I got there that early was simply because I saw what happens when people don't cultivate peace or cooperation or love, and if they don't cultivate it when they have the luxury to do it, then they tend to drift downhill. And when you drift downhill long enough, you always end up in a war. And I mean, you can see the world doing that right now because we're not giving peace the attention it needs. We give war more attention than peace. We think peace should just drift down on us, but we got to plan for wars. Right?
No.
I mean, the
we
whole
plan and we got to facilitate for peace and love and all.
yeah. It just it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we say
Peace,
go like this.
Go
I'm
ahead.
I'm not going to do anything. I want God to let peace drift down on me. So I'm not going to do anything. But I'll do all kinds of other stupid things that get in the way of peace. But anyway, this is like how we tend to live, right?
It's a paradox, right? And it's unfortunately, and I say this with compassion and love, but it is unfortunate that society, something has to happen in order for there to be peace or action. Action of I choose peace or above the line mentality, of love and compassion and gratitude, right? As much as I can, and finding the lesson in all of it, right? Because there's always something to learn.
And sometimes you have to have. I mean, my best learnings have come from my most disastrous events. Many of them, the war was not self-made, but many of my disasters have been self-made.
It's evolution, right? It's your evolution.
I got poisoned by pesticides. That got me focused on health because, and I was sloppy. My marriage broke up and I was really angry and I wanted to kill something. So I took a job as a pesticide sprayer and sprayed them carelessly for 3 years. And then I got poisoned by pesticides. And then I got very interested in health. And out of that came the work that I've done in fats, and flaxseed oil was the first invention that came out of that disaster. And so the work that I've done on health came out of recognizing, getting poisoned, that my health is my responsible, and then and the doctors didn't have anything for it, right? So
that's an important conversation, Udo. I want to talk about that because you said it's taking responsibility.
Yeah,
right?
It's self-responsible healthcare.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's so, humanity and we just leave it up to the big pill mentality. That's not here, by the way. Or the fast food industry. It's not the radio or this person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
And it is giving the humans, the education, the information, and hope, and also like the big permission slip. You can do this on your own. You really can.
Yeah, you can do a lot more on your own than you give yourself credit for.
Yes, let's inspire the audience to do that and bring them back to hope again. We're so inundated with stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why I have this background. See, this is all the stuff.
Yeah.
And this is the place of potential. And something in us is like that. We got clutter in our head. A lot of clutter in our head, but a little deeper inside is complete, perfect peace, complete unconditional love, complete.
And I got people I keep hearing going, what do you mean the space? What do you mean? Because how do you find that unconditional love, right?
Okay. Yeah. So your body occupies space, right?
Yep.
So the question then, what is in that space other than your liver and your guts? What is in that space energetically? Because unconditional love is an energy. It's actually solar energy that is called your life, that came through green leaves, right? Because they absorbed the sunlight and then they put atoms together and made molecules, and the solar energy was stored in that. That becomes your food. You eat the food, you break it down, the solar energy is released. That's your life. That life, its nature is unconditional love. It is never, it's not needy. The body's always needy. Either you got to eat, or you got to sleep, or you got to pee, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. So the body's always needing something. But life energy needs nothing. It is whole as it is. It's indestructible, all powerful, all knowing, everywhere present in your body. What does it take to listen to that? Well, maybe you have to close your eyes, close your ears.
To get rid of the distractions, right?
Yeah, because we're really good at taking our focus outside. Because we do that all the time, right? But now we're trying to take our focus inside, because what we're looking for on the outside, we've actually got on the inside. You know, the peace you want, the contentment you want, the joy you want, the love you want, you have it. You're sitting in it, but you got to bring your focus to it. And that's what I mean by you close off and then you sit still as you can. Go as deep into that stillness as you can. Do it as long.
How do you do that, Udo? How do you do that?
Well, I just sit, but I've been doing it for almost 50 years. So I've gotten
so a newbie's got, they're like, yeah, I can't sit still for nothing.
Okay, you have to recognize three things, I think. One is that what I'm talking about and what you're looking for, what deep down you look for in your life, you've already got it. You're sitting on it. Okay. So number one, it's already in you. This is not something you create. This is something you rediscover and reconnect to. So number one, it exists within you. Number two, do you want it? Do you feel the need for it? And sometimes we call that thirst of the heart or heartache. When your heart aches, that's not about whatever triggered that, because it's usually something you lost or something that ended or some disappointment. That's usually what triggers the feeling, but the feeling is not about those things. The feeling is your heart calling your awareness to come back home inside to its source in life. And you were in that place in your mother's womb because there was no place, nothing to go out to. There was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. Everything was taken care of. And you were relatively safe. So you were hanging out in the space inside your growing body. And I call it the Buddha tank, because you were basically a little Buddha tank.
A little Buddha tank.
Yeah, you were in the light. You were in the light. And they call it, in Buddhism, they call it enlightenment or enlightenment, which is to live present in the light that is your life, right?
Yes.
And so it's solar energy, it's your life, and it's unconditional love, and it's all power to run your show, and it's the master within you. Whether you call it Buddha or Krishna or Christ or whatever you call it, right? That's all the same thing. Only when you talk about solar energy, you're doing science, and from the outside, it becomes master, and you experience unconditional love when you become it, because that is your own true nature, right? You are not the body, you are life. Like if I say to you, Sue, whose body is that? And I pointed you, then what would be your answer?
What first comes to mind, I'm like, it's just source. It is. It's come because I resonate from a space of love, right? I mean, from the 3D world, I go, well, that's Sue. She does X, Y, and Z.
Right. But
if we're talking from a heart standpoint, that's a different answer. Yeah,
and you're a little bit too sophisticated, because most people, if I said that to them, they would say, this is my body.
Oh, right? Okay. Yes.
This is my body. Here's the thing. When I say this is my body, I've just told you that I'm not the body. I'm the owner. It's my body. It's like whose watch is that? This is my watch. I'm not the watch. I'm the owner of the watch. So you are the owner of the body. So then who are you as owner of the body? And most people would say, well, I don't really know. Life owns your body. That energy is who you are in your individual essence. That life energy, that solar energy, that master energy is in every human being, 8 billion around the world. Every human being who's alive.
And audience, did you hear that? Because Udo is talking about life energy and knowing that it's already in you, and asking the question, do you want it? You said the thirst of the heart, that
thirst of the heart to feel fulfilled, or to be in peace, or to feel unconditionally loved.
Yeah, in the audience, if you're spinning out right now and you're like, well, I don't even know what love is. I don't know what that even feels like. Well, right now you're in the contrast. So you don't want that.
Right.
You're in the contrast that says, I'm stressed, too much going on, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and then the third thing that you have to understand, this isn't just something that you can get a formula for. Love is not a formula. Love is when the formulas end. So give me a formula. We all want formulas for everything. It's okay. How do you do that? Give me a formula. No, you didn't have a formula to learn how to walk when you were a baby. There was no formula. You saw people walking, but there was no formula. So what did you do? You tried to get up and you fell on your schnoz. And then, and then you tried to get up again and you fell on your schnoz again. And you cried and but you never quit. And so you started from being totally unable to do something. And then by the time you were 2, you were running around the block. And it just takes persistent effort, never quit. Because it's in you, if you get that it's in you and it's accessible, and it takes time for you to learn to get good at bringing your awareness in the way you become good at bringing your awareness out. Because when you were a baby, when you were born, you weren't good at taking your awareness out either. But then what happened is, things changed and things moved, and you got the voice from mother's voice, and people touched you, and your awareness slowly went out to these changes. That's important for survival. But for fulfillment, you got to bring the awareness home, because that's where your fulfillment lives. It will not chase you out into the world. It waits patiently and quietly, takes care of you through all your dramas and all your traumas while you're tripping out and freaking out. And it's just there waiting for you to settle down, calm down, become still, and find your focus back inside.
And it's an inside job, right? And earlier I alluded to, the contrast, folks, what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Let's just have a little conversation of what society is spinning out and doing that right now, what that contrast looks like, so we can kind of give an awareness, give the audience a new pair of glasses to say, mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I guess I am stressed out. Now mm-hmm. I understand what Udo was talking about, that peace within.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So we think of it as we think of peace as like stress reduction. Right? Because everything's going too fast. Oh my God. The Beatles sang, I give everything I've got for some peace of mind, or really peace from mind, right?
Peace from mind.
Because our thoughts are driving us crazy. We think we're not in control, but something in us is in control. But to get to the control point, you have to be more fully present in the space that your body occupies. And that just takes time. You literally, just like you take time for breakfast, and you take time to go to the bathroom, and you take time to put your clothes on, and take the time to sleep. You need to take time every day to sit still and practice bringing your awareness home, practice being with yourself. And when you get even a little bit good at it, you discover that the most incredible experience a human being can have is the experience of being present in their own being. Right.
Yes.
And what we've done is we're called human beings, but we've become human doings. So we're always doing something, thinking, or doing, and we don't take the time for being. But being is actually more important than doing. How do I know that? Because you can be without doing, but you can't do without being. So being is your foundation. And if you're not taking time to get to your foundation, you're basically living a life without foundation. And no wonder it goes crazy.
Yes. And then what comes up to mind is ADD. I use that as an adjective to describe, but it's the frequency and the energy. And I literally ADD, ADHD, whatever that is, but it's a societal thing now. And I mean that as a society.
Yeah, my view on ADD is there is such a thing as ADD that comes from not having enough of the right fats in your head, or from problems with nutrition sometimes. But most people who are classified as ADD or ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, are just kids who are bored. They tend to be smart, and they get bored very easily. And when I work with kids like that, I'll ask him, what do you love to do? I love to play video games. Do you ever have a problem focusing when you're playing video games? No, never. Oh yeah, this kid, listen, parents, this kid is not ADHD. This kid is bored. He's probably quicker to finish the lessons in school. And then he's bored, and then he's looking out the window, and they say, oh, this guy that can't pay attention. No, he's got nothing interesting to pay attention to.
And to hold him, yeah.
And so then you have to look at a whole other range of how do you get people to be able to focus on what they're interested in, and then use that to bring in all the other learning that the kid needs to do.
Love that. So audience, what are you interested in? It's not about all of that, the ADHD or ADD, and there's also fats and other things, dietary, things that you can do as well. And we can have that conversation, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. We've got Benny, he's in the studio here. So for those of you driving, we're going to take a quick commercial break. If you'd like to join us on YouTube, all you have to do is click on the YouTube linky poo thing, the icon, and then type in 11:50 a.m. and we'll be on the we'll be there live on the commercial. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe.
Cool. All clear. So live on YouTube, by the way.
Live on YouTube. Okay, Benny, I am looking on my phone and I can get the notes. Do you have notes on your side?
Nope.
No. Okay. I just can't see when our time is. I had to switch up from my laptop to my phone at the last minute, Udo. So I'm a little. So if I'm looking that way, it's because the clock's over there. I can't hold the clock right here.
Well, I thought maybe there was somebody more interesting over there.
No, it's nothing. It's a hotel room. Yay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that live on YouTube. Having somebody more interesting over there. Yeah. Oops.
Yeah.
See? Just fell.
Yeah. It's always good if you're a radio show host, to have somebody more interesting on the side, just in case. I'm just having fun.
I know you are, and I love it. I dig it. I'm going to put my laptop down here so I can at least have the clock. There we go. And I had to makeshift everything going on. So your book.
Yeah.
Do you want to come back in and talk about what got you to your latest book and all of that good stuff? How would you like to handle that, Udo?
You're talking about Total Sexy Health?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We can talk about it.
Okay. I mean, you want to talk about it?
Oh, sure. It's an overview of the whole field.
Perfect. And I'm looking here.
Health and human nature.
Health and human nature. Oh, I love human nature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually, are you familiar with the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Denver with him and his team right now.
Oh.
That's why I'm in the hotel.
Oh.
And I love this conversation. It's finding, that space from the heart, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We're having a good time.
The thing is, you can get somebody to induce you to get into that space because they're in that space, because they've done the work to get there. But then what do you do? When you're by yourself?
Exactly. And what type? And I use meditation.
I gotta bring you back here. Sorry.
Okay, here we go. Yeah,
yep.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right, welcome back, Radio World. Hello, YouTube. Thank you for your patience. I had to do some little technical stuff behind the scenes. All right, welcome back. Sue Lundquist here with the Gratitude Cafe. Benny, thank you so much for all your superstar-ness in the studio.
Welcome.
And Udo, thank you. This is such a good conversation to have. And I want to remind the audience, I'm just going to recap just a little bit. It's peace, it's health, it's evolution, and owning your own self. That ownership, that responsibility, that life energy. And that life energy is all accountability and responsibility on how you are going to show up, how you are going to use that life force, that life energy, and defining that to be your own, right? And if you're saying, which I hear the audience saying, because I advocate for you guys as well, what is that? How do I do that? Well, Udo talked about that extensively. He gave us 3 steps or 3 questions to ask yourself. And then also the biggest one, I ask this, how do you want to show up? How do you, and it's all an inside job, the first top of the hour. And it really is an inside job of all of this that we're talking about, right? I mean, it really is. Go ahead, Udo.
Yeah, well, it just struck me to say, how do you do that? Well, one of the ways that you could do that is get all the scriptures that were written by the great masters, some of them from India. Socrates is probably in the club. But get those scriptures, read them yourself. Don't have somebody interpret them for you. Because what those scriptures are talking about is your internal nature. Because these masters were masters of human nature. You can only be a master of human nature when you're fully present in your nature. And they were helping people to have the best possible life. And that's what they were teaching. And they always had a stillness practice. One of the practices they said all the time, take time, sit down, and just do nothing but follow your breathing. There's not one that doesn't talk about that. And why is that? Because when you're following your breathing, you're not in your head thinking. And all you need to do is get out of your thinking to be in the place where the experience of being alive becomes real.
Okay, back to the question we were talking. How do you encourage, inspire, educate somebody that says, no, that bores me, I can't, because we were having the conversation about ADD and that type of, right? Yeah. Talk to me about that, because that's super. I can't tell you how many clients myself and people I talk to. Yes. I can't meditate. I can't. So yes, go ahead.
Oh, right. And I know my mother started doing meditation, and she had a temper tantrum like a 6-year-old kid. I can't do this. And then I really, my mother was God to me, right?
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, she was so competent. Of course, everything was being done on her terms. And it didn't occur to me until she had that temper tantrum that the reason why she looked so together was because everything was on her terms. But when it came to not being on her terms, she was just like me. I don't know how to do this, right? And so we do that. But what I say to people now is, listen, if you sit down to meditate and you get bored, then you should recognize that you're heading in the right direction. You're not quite into the light that you are, or into the sound that you are in your essence, but you're out of the addiction to doing. And you think of it as boring, but notice how much peace there is in that boredom. So fall in love with the boredom, because you're heading in the right direction. That's what I tell people. But the other thing is that what makes this whole journey inward, what makes it relevant, is when your heart aches. And when your heart aches, what I say to people, like addicts are famous for having heartache.
Yes.
So the counselors tell them, don't dwell on it. And that's exactly the wrong advice. What I say to people is, when your heart aches, feel it, sit with it quietly, just pay attention to it, just feel it, acknowledge it, accept it. And maybe,
a disclaimer to the audience: if you need professional help, please seek out professional help.
Yeah.
To sit with you in those moments too. Yes, yeah. I just want to make that,
because the heartache is your call to come home to yourself. And how can you, and it's the starting point. This is the starting point. You can't, you say, okay, I want to win the 800-meter race, but I'm sure not going to put my feet in the starting blocks. I don't like those starting blocks, but I'm going to win the medal. Well, that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
Great. So you want to take a journey to the magnificence and the awesomeness of your being. You have to start with the need that you feel for going there. And that's what heartache is. Heartache began when you were born and your awareness wandered away from inside into the world. And that was an important journey, and it happens to every human being. But because you got disconnected from inside, that's where heartache began. Something is missing. Something
Your
is
needs
lost.
aren't being met.
It's
Your
your
heart.
it's your feeling of your loss of your own connection to yourself. That's what heartache is when you boil it down to what its essence is. So it's your call to come home. So sit with that call and come home. And the more you
sit with that call, throw a tantrum, get squirrely in the seat.
Yeah, and the more you sit with that call, the sooner you're going to take that less than a hair's breadth journey inward from there, because that's where it all is. It's so close, and you're already out of your head, because when your heart aches, you get out of your head, it grounds you, it makes you simple, and you're almost there, and you got a straight shot. Nothing you have to figure out. Straight shot from the ache to the peace behind it, from the ache to the unconditional love behind it, from the ache to the purpose behind it, from the ache to the life behind it. Just less than a hair's breadth behind it, deeper inside.
And then you the contrast. Oh, go ahead, Udo.
And then you can begin to expand the feeling within you. But you got to start, so it starts small, and it gets better the more you do it. Everything gets better with practice. And if you don't want to do the practice, then your heartache isn't strong enough, right? Or it's been misinterpreted to you, so you don't understand what heartache is. Or heartache is it's not comfortable, I don't like it, so therefore let me distract myself,
I think that's
or let me ignore it. Yeah.
Let's talk to that, please. Yeah, let's talk to that.
Okay, so when our heart aches, we don't like the feeling. Almost everybody. I do this talk a lot of times with people, and we do the whole thing, right? So we don't like it, so we either distract ourselves from it, and whatever it takes is what we distract ourselves with. Like you name it, including crazy and destructive and silly things, walking barefoot across Antarctica. Why? Because I think that if I can do that, I'll be famous, or I'll be known, or I'll have accomplished something, and then I'll feel okay again. I know a guy who built an airport, a huge airport. It's named after him. He thought that when he built the airport, he would feel taken care of. I said, let me tell you how your life goes. You start this project, you think you're going to feel good when you finish it. You do 20 years of busting your butt to get it done. Then when you've got it done, then you have 3 days where you go, whoa, I did it. And then on the fourth day, you feel depressed because it didn't actually fulfill you. He said, well, I wouldn't call it depressed, I'd call it let down. I said, okay. And then you pick it, you say, okay, well, maybe I didn't think big enough. Maybe I should have built a bigger airport, or I didn't think in the right direction. So you come up with something else, but always behind it is that hope, conscious, subconscious, sometimes unconscious, that when I succeed in what I'm doing, I will feel cared for. And you will never, because you are already cared for, and you need to just move your awareness. So you don't have to do anything except bring your awareness to the core of your own being. And there it all is. And when that happens, you will feel so cared for that it's not about you anymore. This is the cure for narcissism, by the way, right? You will feel so cared for that it's not about you anymore. And then the question becomes, when it's not about you anymore and you're cared for it, what's left to do? How can I help? Yes, what needs to be done?
Service heart.
How can I make the biggest splash for good that I can make in one body in one lifetime? That's what's left to do when I feel cared for. Until I feel cared for, I will always be a getter, because everything I do will have an element of, how's this going to take care of me? And I know that from my personal experience. I wouldn't do things that needed to be done because I couldn't see how they would take care of me.
Oh, wait, Udo, that's a really good question to ask yourself when you're in that transition, or that what if, or, the fear, the doubts, or the addicted chemicals, whatever's coming up for you.
Yeah.
That is a great question to ask.
Yeah. So that's the question. How will it take care of me? But then I wouldn't do what needed to be done. And then guess what? Once I felt cared for, I could take on bigger projects because it wasn't about taking care of me anymore. And when you take on bigger projects, guess what? you actually are doing better in the worldly sense too.
Yes. Because you're making a difference in the
Right.
world. So you answer the call to your heart. You answer the call to the being of service of yourself. Like you talked at the top of the hour about you evolved into health because you had a situation in your life
that I needed to deal with. Yeah.
That you need to deal with, right?
But I was already doing it.
Take care of me. Go ahead, Udo.
Yeah. But I was already felt cared for because I was already doing the practice. And if I hadn't been doing the practice, I probably would have not done that. And I probably would have got cancer and it probably would have killed me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the difference between being present inside and not being present inside.
Let's talk about that because as you know this well more than myself, I'm sure. And of course, the education and the wisdom and time, the society norm, the fast food mentality, the let's create drama just so we can fix things, again, going down the path of illusion, workaholism, numbing out, whatever it is. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be pornography, it could be workaholism.
Yeah. It could be bad politics, and it could be destruction of the environment, and it could be murder, it could be drug addiction, it could be anything. Yep, it's all driven by the call to come home and not understanding what the call to come home, that the call to come home is the call to come home.
Yes. And recognizing that and having the awareness, recognizing that.
Yeah.
You've got a pang, listen to the pang, the ache,
restlessness,
wheel, right?
emptiness, blues, loneliness, there's so many words for it. And the words depend on what triggers them. But they're not about those triggers. They're about you having disconnected from yourself as a child, the natural process, nobody to blame, and something calling you to come back. And every time you have a loss or something ends or something goes wonky, then you're back to something's missing in my life. But there's nothing in any culture in the world that I know of that frames heartache that way. And because what I would say is, when your heart aches, that is the greatest gift you've been given other than being alive. Because if it wasn't for the heartache to call you home, you would never find your way home. No different than how hunger makes food relevant, and how thirst makes water relevant, and how having to go pee makes a toilet relevant, right? No different.
Right?
Heartache makes stillness practice relevant.
It's important to
find your wholeness.
There you go. So audience, listen to what Udo, the conversation. Ask yourself that question. Is it important? Obviously, you're hearing this radio show for a reason. There's something inside of you. There's an ache. There's a question unanswered, a thorn, a squeaky wheel. Something's going on. Right?
So many names for it. Yeah.
So many. There's something going on that says, it's just not quite aligned. Just doesn't quite feel that way. Oh my goodness. Hang on a minute. Yeah. I don't know how that happened because I'm on Do Not Disturb, but bear with me, audience. Sorry about that, Udo.
No problem.
Now I lost my train of thoughts. Where was I going, Udo?
Well, so I was going to take it back to, you talk about if you're living the hamburger lifestyle and you're kind of like living an unconscious life.
Yes.
There's not a single person that I've ever met who didn't know what heartache is. But there's not a single person that I've met who understood what the significance of heartache is.
Yes, or was able to define it, right?
Yeah, that's why the reframing is so important. This is the greatest gift you've been given. When your heart aches, This is the greatest gift you've been given other than being alive, because it is your heart will not leave you alone until you come home. And you might wait till you die and then you'll come home, or you can come home now and enjoy a life of fullness instead of a life of always missing something, a life of emptiness. This is the fullness of all fullnesses. When you have this, and you get good at staying present here, everything starts to work. Everything starts to fall into place. But when you're missing out of your own life, why would you expect it to work?
The big word that keeps coming up that you just said, which of course it's the emptiness. It's the squeaky wheel. It's that there's something going on. The emptiness. Call it boredom. Call it whatever adjective you want to call it. That's your squeaky wheel. And audience, I feel like I have to keep reminding us of that, because we spin out in fight or flight too. There's this whole chemical release that we're going to be doing as well. And of course we can't see it because we're in that fight or flight. Right. So Udo is also educating and advising and talking, and please get to your heart space, get to that calmness, get to that peace. And if that's important to you and you're listening to this message for a reason, because you do have that ache and that squeaky wheel, this really resonates with you. So if there's an emptiness, if there is that emptiness, know that your emptiness is your heart calling to come home to yourself. And have compassionate. So this is, I coined this a while ago and I love it. The CCs in life, compassionate curiosity for yourself and others, right? So you get curious and you have fun and have compassion. We don't need to be hard on ourselves anymore. We're always hard on ourselves, right? No,
in fact, if you want the message that life has for your body, life loves your body unconditionally. What does that mean? When you can be going through your dramas and your traumas and all of your thoughts and all of your crazinesses, and the whole time you're doing all of that, life is making sure that molecule of folic acid that the cell next to your left ankle needs gets delivered there, right? While you're tripping on everything else, it's doing the job of maintaining, repairing, rebuilding your body. 98% of the atoms in your body every year are removed and replaced. So your your body is a major construction site all the time. And that's going on without you having any mostly you not having mental input on it. That's just what life does for your body. Unconditional care for your body. And wouldn't it be nice to be in the driver's seat on that unconditional love? Or heart-centered, when you're present in your heart and you're present in the outside world at the same time, that's when your life really works. And when you're lost in your head, you become deaf and blind, and no wonder that things don't work that well.
Right. Okay, let's have that conversation. I was talking to a friend of mine, and it is the listening skills. It freaked him out because I'm an engaged listener. And I listen with the poker face, and meaning I'm going to engage and I'm going to have eye contact with you and I'm going to open my heart. And the poker face comes from, if you are sharing drama with me, I'm not going to encourage the drama. I'm just going to let you spill it out, versus, oh my God, did that really happen? I'm not going to do that, because that encourages all the endorphins and all the other stuff that are coming out, right? The drama, right? So how do we encourage people to have that engagement listening? Because it's so important. Your needs are getting met. You're feeling loved. Not that it's, you have to feel the love from the other person. That's not where I'm going with this. It is for me, because for me to love you is to love myself, is to love us, right? So it's a love for me to engage with you, heart to heart, eye contact. And I'm loving you as much as you're loving me, right? It's reciprocated. So when you have that contrast and somebody is freaked out because, oh my God, you're listening to me, that's freaking me out. What are you doing? What language, what is that for them? Of course, we could go back to the heart that says, you're not coming home. But I think there's another conversation in that about compassion for yourself and self-worth and self-love for yourself. Can we have that conversation, Udo?
Sure. I think when it makes them nervous that somebody actually listens to them, I would pretty much guarantee that comes from trauma.
Yeah.
From trauma. But here's the thing. There's trauma, and you may need to deal with it, and you may need to sort out what happened and maybe reframe it for yourself, or maybe come to a better conclusion or decision than you had to make as a kid for your survival. But the whole time you're doing all of that, something in you was always whole. Something in you was never affected by any of the dramas and the traumas. Imagine if you could be present in the dramas and traumas and at the same time feel the peace. Because that's how we live.
Feel that collective of
we live in the world, right? We live in the world. We live in the world. There's this space, this clean space in us, and then there's the clutter in our life.
Yes.
Right? The clutter is on the outside, and in our mind, the clean space is a little deeper inside than the mind can go. The mind is a surface phenomenon.
You're not going deep with the mind, taking the driver's seat.
If you go deep enough with the mind will be gone, right? Because it's an interactive situation, right? But something in you is not interactive. Something in you is whole. Self whole. Doesn't need something added to it. Has already, in fact, adds something to everything else. And if you can bring that and add that to everything else that you're doing in the world, because you're in touch with it, then you change the quality of all of your interactions. In relationships, I think it's beautiful. I saw the goddess in her. This is how it happened. This is for a real story. I saw the goddess in her. It's like, oh my God, there she is. And she saw the God in me. I don't know why, but she did. Oh my God, there he is, right? And because I saw the love in her, and we had never spoken a word, and I'd never heard any denial of that from her, I thought my love was going to come from her. And because we talk about, we want to be completed, so we think another person will complete me. And we say that, oh, he completes me, oh, she completes me. And so what happened is I thought the love was going to come from her. She thought the love was going to come from me. But neither she was in touch with the love she is within herself to bring it out into the relationship. Neither I was in touch with the love that I am to bring into the relationship. Yeah. So if neither person in the relationship can get to the love and bring it into the relationship, where's the love supposed to come from?
Yep.
And that's what happened. So she was disappointed because I couldn't fulfill her. And I was disappointed because she couldn't fulfill me, because fulfillment is an inside job. It's a personal inside job. And I say to people that's your homework. If you don't feel whole by yourself, you're not ready for a relationship, because you will tear down that relationship, because you're going to put expectations on the other person that they cannot possibly meet, because we're not built like that. Yep. So do your homework first. And when you feel loved and feel loving, then you can bring something into a relationship.
Feeling the other way to look at it, and then also sustaining that on your own, right?
Well, yeah, you have to go to it. That's always a alone job.
Yep. Always.
To get in touch with what's within me. I mean, no master goes with me there. No friend goes there with me. That's the journey, the non-formula journey home to yourself, right?
Yes.
That's my homework. That's the work I do at home. That's the homework. And mostly people don't do their homework. And we all have homework to do.
Speaking of homework, Udo, I know. Udo, let's talk about your book, please, because we've got just a few more minutes before we're going to be needing to get out of here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your latest book, Among Many Babies That You Have Birthed Out, and websites and how they can get a hold of that, because you've compiled everything into this baby, right?
Yeah. What it is, it's an overview book on human nature and nature, or health, how health affects us, because everything affects health. Everything.
Everything.
So what affects health? Whether you're aware of yourself or aware of awareness, that's the foundation. That affects your health. When you're not aware, then you're without foundation. Okay, affects health. Then you start doing other things that don't make sense from the foundation that is your foundation. You know,
first you have to have
from the awareness that created you and that created the universe. Same foundation.
Yes.
Then number 2 is life energy. Life energy is the unconditional love, the power that weighs nothing and runs the entire show. When you're not in touch with that, you don't feel whole. You know, when you don't feel love, something's missing.
Right.
Number 3 is inspired creativity. That's the shine of the love that you are into the world. Those 3 are internal and personal, and they are the foundation that most people don't do the homework to be in touch with. Although all masters over history have recommended that people put that first, we tend to put it last. But it still works, even when we put it last, it still works. Then there's the physical body. Then, that's about food and fitness and detox and digestion. And that's what we mostly focus on when we talk about health. Then there is survival smarts. That's your interaction between you and the world. Survival, that's basically protection and procreation. Then there is who you hang out with, social group. That affects your health. When we were kids and we were playing soccer and somebody really ticked us off, we would yell at him, "You make me sick." Even as kids, we knew that. Right? Right?
Yes.
And then there's the natural environment. If you poop in your nest, you will nest in your poop. That sums up every environmental issue. And then there's the big picture, which is that here I am in a terminal condition called the human body in an infinite universe, and to be okay with that. To be present to the nature of things, to live fully present in all of my being and my surroundings, not lost in thoughts in my head. That's the cherished state. And you get it for, if you're lucky, 100 years. For 14 billion years before that, you didn't exist. After that, for the next 4.5 billion years, you won't exist until the sun blows up and scorches the earth. That's what's supposed to happen in 4 billion years, right?
All right, Udo,
Here you are.
We've got less than a minute. I want to make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you. Okay. Please give your website real quick.
Yeah, udoschoice.com for the oils and the products that I work with, digestive enzymes, probiotics, and theudo.com or udoerasmus.com for the education and the courses and all of that.
Yes. And when you're driving, don't worry, you guys will get all this information from the newsletter on all the social media. Udo, it's been an absolute delight having you. I love this conversation. I could keep talking for hours.
Yeah, well, we can have another one.
Yes, let's do it. I'm game. Let's do it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
To the audience, thank you so much. You had a squeaky wheel, open your heart, and no pooping in the nest. Come on, people.
Plant some trees. Do less and plant some trees.
Yeah. I love you.